Teenagers have it easy. That's what every generation seems to believe. It's said so often that we've even earned ourselves a nickname, the snowflake generation, meaning we are overly sensitive, less resilient, and easily offended. Today, I want to challenge that idea. I'm not here to argue that adults have it easy or that everything about being a teenager is impossibly difficult. I'm here to talk about something different, the hidden costs of being a young person today, the pressures adults have forgotten, overlooked, or simply never experienced. Teenagers today are presented with costs and choices that adults never had to face, presented with a unique economic landscape, not only of money, but of pressure, algorithms, and expectations. So, before we're labeled as snowflakes, I want to offer a new perspective. We aren't overly sensitive or less resilient. We're responding rationally to a world that has become far more complex, competitive, and costly than ever. What do you think about when I say economics? Usually, people picture numbers, graphs, money, but at its core, economics is the study of choice. And everybody makes choices every single day. Understanding this will make you realize that young people live in the most intense, fast-moving economy in the world, and it rarely has anything to do with money. In economics, money is a medium of exchange, which is any item that is accepted in return for a good or service. Adults would consider their most important medium of exchange to be money, and would assume the same for teenagers. However, our currencies take the form of time, social acceptance, confidence, comparison, and grades. These are the units we trade, chase, invest in, and sometimes lose. Think of it like this. You can have a high social reputation, making you rich in that sense, but be poor in grades. You can have thousands of followers online, but be too scared to leave the house. I got an A in my last test, but doing this is terrifying. These mediums of exchange are far more challenging to manage than money, being emotional and often unpredictable. However, these costs are rarely acknowledged by adults. They label us as irrational or dramatic. But if an economist were to look at the life of a young person, they would see we are simply navigating markets they never had to survive. How much do you think teenagers contribute to the economy? In the UK, teenagers contribute £1.2 billion, with the average teen spending £54 a week. Now, what this £54 a week is spent on will vary from person to person, but studies show that 84% of money spent by young people was on socializing with friends, gaming, and clothes. Personally, all my money goes to clothes. These numbers only represent the financial costs of being a young person, because our biggest expenses aren't monetary at all. We invest time into social acceptance, we spend energy managing the pressure to be perfect, and we pay in the fear of failure. Economists call these intangible costs. They're real pressures that you can't see on a bank statement. Because if every part of being a young person today went into a bank account, my biggest withdrawals wouldn't be on clothes. They'd be in the costs of academic pressure and the fear of not being accepted. I'm not the only one who thinks like this. 41% of teens report social pressure to fit in, and a further 70% feel pressure to get good grades. So, although we may spend £54 a week, young people pay hidden costs that adults forget about. Every generation is different, and therefore will have to overcome different obstacles than those previous generations faced. But just because our problems are different to yours, it doesn't make them irrelevant or unimportant. So, parents, teachers, politicians, before you shame us for a bad grade or call us snowflakes, remember the internal dilemmas, the invisible pressure, and the emotional price we pay every single day. Thank you.